Almost 90% of women have cellulite. And guess what? It's not their fault. We don't choose cellulite, but we can choose a different way to treat it. Meet Quo, collagenase Clostridium histolyticum, AAES, the first and only FDA-approved prescription injectable for moderate to severe cellulite in the buttocks of adult women. This non-surgical treatment is injected by an aesthetic specialist in 10 minutes or less. Individual results may vary. Do not receive if you are allergic to any collagenase or ingredients in Quo or have an infection at the treatment site. May cause serious side effects, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and injection site bruising. Seek medical help right away for any signs of allergic hypersensitivity. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, if you have a bleeding condition, or take medicine that prevents clotting. Most common side effects include bruising, pain, hardness, itching, redness, discoloration, swelling, and warmth at the injection site. Ask your doctor about all possible side effects and for product information. If you're ready to get to the bottom of your cellulite, learn more and find a specialist at quo.com.
Hey, and welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast, an adulting advice podcast production. I'm Dani Sheriff, and this is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. Let's dive in. And guys, please remember that I am not a doctor, and nothing on this show should be taken as medical advice. Hey ladies. The HA Society is reopening again soon. We open every month, once a month for like 3 days. So if you want in this month, come and get it. Make sure you join the waitlist or waitlist.thehasociety.com, or the link is in the show notes. What we have going on in there is awesome. We do 2 community calls a week. We are coaching on all kinds of topics. You guys get to submit what you want to talk about, so we make sure it's always really relevant to you. We have, as well, I'm not the only coach. We have Ashley, my amazing co-coach, so it's not just me in your ears all of the time, even though I know that you would love that. And all of the girls in there are incredible. I know some of you guys are listening. I love all of you. I would shout you out by name, but it would take a really long time. I really think that joining the HA Society is a huge opportunity for you. If you are binging this podcast and every other podcast, looking for answers and the support that you need, and looking for someone to confirm that what you've got going on is HA, that is why we're here. Come on in, tell us your life story, let's lay it out on the table, let's get absolutely confident this is what's going on. You can post on the message board as much as you'd like. Meet all of the peeps you want. Come to all the community calls and events that your heart desires. We have so many awesome practitioners and experts coming in at the moment, sharing events and presentations to help educate you more on HA and get a lot more confident about what you're doing. And not only that, but we have a ton of availability or like accessibility to coaching. So if you have a question that you want to keep private, that you want to get help with from me or one of the other coaches inside of the HA Society, you can do that. We have a DM portal. So we're always chatting with the girls in there. They're sending me their cycle charts, those that are waiting on second periods. They're asking questions. They're looking for support after bad days, looking to celebrate after good days. It's really exactly the kind of space that you need if you're going through HA recovery alone. So I'm psyched. As you can tell, this is my absolute baby. I'm in there all day, every day, chatting with women, and I would love you to be one of those. So head on down, join the waitlist. We open on the 11th, not far away at all. And I will see you there when it opens. Waitlist.thehasociety.com. Go. Pause this episode. Do it. Let's roll. Okay, great. Now we can listen to the episode. P.S. Sorry about my audio quality in this call today. I was literally talking into a microphone that was just not plugged in, and my computer was recording audio. This happens to me sometimes. That's what happens when you're a one-woman show. You just drop the ball. But you guys are good. You've got me. You get me.
Hey guys, and
Welcome back to the AJ podcast. I'm here with my partner in crime, Ashley Smith.
Hey.
Today we're talking about pregnancy.
Yes, we're talking about your pregnancy.
We
You getting
are
pregnant.
from HA to getting pregnant.
The Dani Sheriff story.
It's just like, I guess the goal is so that people can get an idea of what it could look like for some people.
Absolutely. Well, think about everyone's story is like unique. Yes, like it's kind of the same process, but how we all get there is different. So I think your story is super encouraging and kind of different because you kind of went through a little bit of a journey of tracking your cycle.
Yeah, so there's like so many people kind of just they try to get their period back to get pregnant, and so they just get pregnant straight away. But I kind of went like the slow route where I got my period and then I had it for a certain amount of time, and then I was ready to have to try and get pregnant. Because I was tracking my cycle, I learned a lot about it and how to get pregnant, and found I had some obstacles I had to overcome with like the quality of my cycle.
Yeah.
In order to get pregnant. Yeah, I think it's super important.
Okay, so how long did you have your cycle before you decided to start trying to have kids?
In total, including 2 months where I did miss a period, about 8 months.
Yeah, so I mean that's about like a good time to like really just get the flow and actually really learning to keep your period, right?
Yes, I definitely learned a lot because of it. I'm going to be really confident getting my period back after.
And I think that's so important. Not that it's bad to get pregnant on your first cycle,
You're
but
just less confident.
Right. It's just kind of like, whoo, okay, so I still have to kind of like work through this after I deliver, after breastfeeding, so you get to have this confidence. Actually, I have a quick question. Like, do you think that having that much time and working through the changes of your body composition through HA is going to allow you to like navigate the changes that your body will go through with pregnancy with a little bit more maybe understanding, a little bit more kindness, a little more grace, or like, what do you think?
Yeah, and I think that you could probably also answer this question. I was talking about this morning on someone else's podcast, that I think because of this process, I am so much more ready for what it's going to feel like to see a different body suddenly.
Which is huge.
Totally.
Like mentally, like huge, like, because I think that's kind of a taboo topic that most pregnant women probably don't talk about, is the struggle of how their body changes and
the shame if it doesn't just go back to the way it was.
Yeah, or just how fast it changes, right? Like I know like a lot of clients of mine will get caught off guard on how fast their body's changing. But when you've been through HA, you're like, yeah, I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, you were so afraid when you go into HA recovery of like weight gain and what's going to happen, undoing all of your hard work, blah blah blah. It's much easier now to surrender to it. It is definitely scary. Like, you're pregnant and suddenly you're bloated and you're putting on this weight and you're really, really freaking hungry sometimes. I know you were like, I will happily never eat again.
Yeah.
But I just only like want to eat so much food. And that is like, if I got pregnant from the place I was in prior, I would have so much shame around wanting to eat more. I would have so much shame around basically the miraculous weight gain that happens when you get pregnant. Like, I think that it's huge, and so many people are unprepared.
Yeah, or just even the acceptance of gaining weight and eating more. Even though most people logically know that this is what is going to happen and has to happen, it's part of the process, but to actually walk through it, so almost like with HA, it's just kind of like this massive trial run of walking through it and working it out to the point where you get to this point. So I just want to go on a whole bunch of tangents. 'Cause I just want to interview you, Dani. When it comes to your nutrition, like, do you feel like the time that you spent taking time away from tracking and really working on intuitive eating during those 8 months has like allowed you to be not quote unquote successful, but just to, I guess, navigate what does it look like to honor my hunger cues now?
Yeah, probably. More so like, yeah, I'm way more aware of the fact that I'm genuinely craving this food. My body's specifically asking for this food. I think that that's where it comes from. When you go through that time, you kind of really get to practice that time of getting your period back, stopping tracking food, calories, that kind of thing. You get to really like ask yourself and go internal for a bit and be like, what do I really feel like right now? Because anything's up for grabs. I'm no longer limited to these like low fat options or whatever. And when the world becomes your oyster and you have all these decisions, you kind of have to learn to like figure out what you really feel like eating. And it's like it's really very simple once you've done the work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I naturally thought that I wanted to have this like I had this ridiculous idea deep when I was like in the dieting world of this is what my fit pregnancy is going to look like, and all these things, right? And it's nothing like it. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because that would have been a disaster mentally, emotionally, physically, you know what I mean? Because I, without even knowing it, I had put what a fit pregnancy or just even what a healthy pregnancy should look like. So I had already put myself in a box before I had even gotten there.
Oh yeah, like and I gain no weight, but I have this perfect little bump at the front, and it's high up, and it just like all this weird stuff that you put on yourself. Totally.
So going off on that tangent, do you think that there's any body body image things that are coming up for you now that probably maybe like shock you? You're like, oh, I didn't expect to kind of like deal with this.
I don't think anything's shocking me. No, but definitely it's there. Like I am catching myself wanting to look in the mirror a bit more and be like, what's changed? It just, keeping a really keen eye on it, and I don't like that I'm doing that, but I can see that I'm doing that. I think like that's just the biggest difference. Those thought processes are kind of there, and I feel like they might always be there because they've been there for a really long time. But there was a time where it would never be followed up by you're having one of those thoughts, like time to reach into your toolbox and use whatever you need to move on with your day and like disrupt that thought pattern. Like there was a time where that thought pattern would spiral me into a rage and just like just so many tears. I would get so upset. I had no tools. But yeah, now that voice of like, oh, you're probably not gonna be like that, mom, or oh, you're probably gonna end up. I know this is like such a bad thought, but this is just the shit that comes up in our head. So,
Go for it.
like, oh, what if you end up looking like your mom after all? Like, that is a fucking huge one for me. And I just have to just lean on everything that I have now to disrupt it. And it's so helpful. I have not dwelled on one of those thoughts for more than a couple of seconds before just being like, you're having a goddamn baby. Like, you're having a baby, your body's going to change. This is part of it. Nothing stays the same. You can't expect things to stay the same. Why would every single thing in the world change season to season and you stay exactly the same all the time? So, yeah.
No, but I think that's so real because I think also sometimes with pregnancy, like we kind of think that it's just this transformation of our body and what our body's able to do. And And I think if we really get honest, there's a lot of transformation that happens mentally, emotionally, like just like spiritually, like just this whole transformation. And transformation doesn't come without working through like insane thoughts
Yeah.
or
So
noticing
that's it.
them.
I'm like just still in the middle of it.
Yeah, or just noticing them and letting them go, being like, actually have the option to not pull that one down and wrestle with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna let that crazy one go. You know what I mean? Because I already know that that's not actually what I truly believe or think. That was just an insane thought, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So sorry for all the side tangents, but
Oh, I love it. It's interesting stuff. I haven't thought about it much yet, so I like that.
So I kind of want to like talk about your cycles. Because I know that as you started to track them, you kind of noticed that like sometimes we think, okay, we're gonna recover, and then we're just gonna have these beautiful cycles right after, and they're gonna be perfect, and boom. So I just kind of want to talk about what were some of the bumps in the road with your cycles that really required you to do some fine tuning.
Yeah, I love this. People have heard me talk about it a lot. Like, you don't just get your period back necessarily and then happy days. You can totally have a period that's like anovulatory
Mm-hmm.
or all over the place, or you could have, really terrible PMS, or you could have really short cycles. So I really believe in tracking your cycle and just learning about it and where it's at and what its tendencies are. Don't think you have to do it forever if you don't want to, although it's a great option for contraception and good stuff like that. But I started doing it, and at first, my cycles made no sense. Like, I learned all about it. You see these like stable pre-ovulatory temperatures in the follicular phase. Then you'll see this clear and obvious spike, is how it's described. It's clear and obvious, apparently. And then you have these post-ovulatory temperatures, and then they stay up there for 3 or more days, and then it falls and you bleed. And you get mucus, and the mucus shows you that your fertile window's open, and it's like so straightforward. And just none of that was happening. I was like, there's like patches of cervical mucus over here and cervical mucus over there, and all my temperatures are just low or lower. Like, what the hell? And I like, is that a spike? Is that a temperature spike? No, I don't know. It's only really like 1 degree higher than the last highest one. Like,
The clear
yeah, I'm like,
spike.
it's not clear and obvious. All over the joint. I have one chart that I always think is so funny because it looks upside down. I'm sorry to anyone who doesn't chart and doesn't understand this, which is probably a lot of you, but listen back when you do start charting because it's really funny.
It's
But I have
so real.
one
It's so real.
where like all of the pre-ovulatory temperatures are kind of fine, and then they drop lower, and so it looks like an upside down chart. And I'm like, well, if I flip it over,
It looks really good. There's that clear spike, but I think I got a clear drop
exactly,
instead.
exactly. So
Totally.
I know a lot of people listening really don't know what we're talking about. And truthfully, like, I didn't bother to start to learn about period tracking until I got my first period, and I think that that's perfectly valid,
Yeah,
if
I
not
didn't start.
probably recommended.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I tried before, and then, I mean, like, I guess I'm glad I tried before because mine looked like a sawtooth. And then I was
Mhm.
listening to this hormonal, it was a great, like, webinar, like, I don't know, like 30 doctors. And there's this one on fertility. I was like, I'm not even trying to get pregnant, but let me just listen to this as
Mhm.
they're talking about periods and stuff like that. And then they're like, if your temperature or if your chart looks like a sawtooth, there's definitely something wrong. And I was like, oh, snap. No, I think I've
Yeah.
seen that before. I have that. And so that's when I was like, oh, I really need to get help.
Yeah.
But then I
Super helpful.
stopped, and then once I got my first cycle, then that's when I started tracking again. So everything that you're talking about totally makes sense. But I did
Yeah.
an app. You know what I mean? So that like it would chart it for me. But no, definitely I'm like, is that a spike? Or is it just because I measured an hour later? Like, did I even see the temperature properly? Because you're always like taking it like in the morning, I'm like half awake, you know what I mean, type of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Totally. And so for those of you who are wondering, what happens is you check your temperature every single day, ideally at the same time, hold your thermometer in your mouth for a certain period of time to make sure it's consistent, and you track that temperature. And you're looking for a really significant rise in your temperature to signify ovulation has already happened, like it just happened yesterday, and that it stays high enough to confirm that it was a successful ovulation. And then if you're going to bleed, it will drop back down. And if you're pregnant, it will stay high and rise higher. And then whilst you're tracking your temperatures, you're also looking for physical signs. Some people literally check their cervix, pop their finger in and see, because it moves inside of your
I can
body.
never tell. So
I'm just not doing that.
yeah, yeah. I was
I didn't need to do that.
yeah, I was like, I think I got enough signs. And hey, to like anybody that's all about it, more to I was just like, I don't even know what. I think I had to spend a lot of time with my finger up there to know a difference,
I
whether
know.
like where my cervix is, type of thing.
I know. It just
But
is like, and the way it's described is like, it sounds like a tiny little anus, and I just like don't want to touch it. I'm sorry. I
like,
just
I don't
don't
want to
want to
touch
touch
the
it.
cervix.
I'm sorry. Anyways, it's like totally, you all do you.
Yeah.
I just didn't need to. I was like, I will lean on that tool if none of this is working,
Right. I
but I
mean,
didn't
between
need
the
it.
temperatures and the cervical, like mucus, like I was like, I think I got enough information kind of going
Yes,
on. And not that like I'm
totally.
like ashamed of my body or don't want to explore my body. I was like, I just don't need to track everything known to mankind. Like
Exactly.
I
And that
just don't
one's
need
just
it.
actually the biggest pain in the butt. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like
Because I don't
you're
know
in
what
the
I'm doing.
shower, you got to make sure your fingers super clean. Like, I just,
Like I'm
So,
good.
yeah, like I'm good.
Where's
So,
where's the thermometer? Like I'm good.
with, and then with mucus, you're looking for basically, the rule is if you see mucus, you're in your fertile window. And then there's like different descriptions of mucus that some is more, it's not like more fertile than the other. It's like if you're fertile, you're fertile. But I would say that clear egg white mucus is when you're closest to ovulation,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. And so people would just like, for ease of description, say it's more fertile. But when that's happening, you're a few days out from ovulation. It's imminent, it's coming, it's happening, except that's only in a perfect world. And for many of us post HA, our bodies might bleed, but they're not necessarily ovulating, which means, so I used all of these signs to see if I was actually ovulating or if I was just getting a bleed, which is an anovulatory cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing with HA, right? All of the stuff that you're hearing about, like the value of having your period, most of it comes down, it's more the value of ovulating.
Right. Yeah. Like yeah, absolutely. Like that is the actual goal. The period is just like the physical sign that
Hmm.
we can see, technically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So when you
Outside of
see blood in your underwear and you're like, oh, yay, it finally happened. Like, I got my period today. It's like, actually, no, the thing that happened for you
was it
was
2 weeks
somewhere
ago?
between, like, yeah, between 2 weeks ago and, like, in my case, 6 days. But we'll get that. So I was tracking that and none of it was adding up. I had mucus here, mucus there. Temperatures made no sense. I tried checking my cervix every now and then. I'm like, I just, like, don't know what this is saying to me. So I but I persevered, knowing like I have been told many times it starts to make sense. You just need to give it a few charts. Like your first two charts are going to be trash, which is such a weird thing. Like they shouldn't be, but they are. So, and on the fourth cycle, it made sense.
Mm.
But here's the thing. So I realized that those last cycles, those first ones, they were anovulatory. I
Mm.
saw mucus everywhere. I saw rises and falls in my temperature, nothing to confirm ovulation. And and the dates were all over the place. So I just gave it time, however, which is why I think it's really important to be patient and not jump the gun when you get your first period. It's like your body's still trying to figure stuff out. I was patient and let it sort itself out. And eventually I was seeing, consistent mucus patches, one rise. It was really clear when I ovulated. But this time, my luteal phase, the amount of time after I ovulate was only 6 days, which is really low.
I am really excited about this project I have been working on for weeks. I think it's awesome, and I think it's just what you need, which I know it is because I've been polling, asking questions, and understanding what do you guys need from me. So I'm so psyched about this. On April 27th, I am holding a live 7-day recovery commitment challenge. I know that committing to actually make the changes and getting the tools that you need to stick with the changes is really tough. And that's why I want you to do these two things. I want you to sign up for this challenge today, and I want you to put it in your calendar so that you are ready. I want you to make that first step to commitment to prove to yourself that you can absolutely do this. I want you to do it so that you have a 100% start date, so that you know that once we begin on the 27th, you're definitely doing this. No take backsies. This challenge is going to be you and me and the other amazing women who join the call, meeting every single day for 7 days. And we're going to cover why your period's missing and how you're going to figure out your unique plan to get it back. We're going to go over building solid, healthy meals to ensure that you are getting all of the nutrition that you need. We're going to talk about seeking support from medical professionals, partners, family, and friends. And we're going to talk exercise, of course, reducing or fully eliminating exercise. Which one's for you? How do we bring exercise back into our life? Do I even want to bring exercise back into our life? All of those questions, we're going to go over that. We're going to look at your lifestyle, the daily routine, the life stresses. Where can we find room for improvement that you're missing? And we're going to cover mindset shifts, the ones that are really going to get you across the line and get that period back. The real mindset shifts, no fluff here. And lastly, we're going to cover recovery troubleshooting. So when you're doing all the things and they're not working, we're going to talk about what to do next, what to look at next. And we're going to do Q&A. So you can bring all of your questions and answers. So in this 7 days, you're going to cover a lot of things and you're going to gain a whole lot of knowledge. And we're going to have a special guest on the final day to help you go in depth on the mindset tactics that we talk about. And she's going to do the Q&A with me. This guest is Meg Dole. She's a registered nutritionist, spiritual coach, creator of the Back Home to You program, and of course, the amazing host of, sister podcast, friend of the show, The Unbreakable You. So before we meet on each call, you're going to have a quick 1-page workbook to fill out so that you're prepared and really absorbing the material that we go through. This is not a multi-week get your period back program. This is a 7-day intense, you know what you need to do. So let's do this challenge. And yes, I promise we're going to talk about food and exercise and eating enough. And I will answer any and all questions, concerns, negotiations that you want to try and make on those things. And we're going to create action plans that help you have quick wins and make leaps and bounds of progress. So, real talk at this moment. If you have ever heard me talking on the podcast about HA and you felt like Dani is in my head, because I am you, absolutely. And you need to join this challenge if you resonate with the things that we talk about on this show. I'll be talking directly with you, and you'll absolutely get face-to-face time with me, and you can even email me in between calls with questions. I want to make sure that you are making progress in this 7 days. So we'll uncover your insecurities, we'll work through them and get you committed to sticking to the plan. So are you ready? If you're thinking, no, I don't think so, and then you're just going to go back to pondering if you'll ever get your period back or if HA is even your problem, and then you go and find the next podcast episode to listen to or the next Instagram account to scroll through looking for answers, I'm going to need you to stop. I'm going to need you to stop, take a breath. Why in the world would you not do this with me? I am definitely talking to you. It's only 1 week, and yes, there are replays, so if you miss a call or you're in a time zone that's just not going to match up, we have you covered there. So what are you waiting for? Join the challenge at challenge.thehasociety.com or head to the link in the show notes of this episode. That's challenge.thehasociety.com.
And I need to dive more into this because a part of me is like, can there be outliers?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's, 100%, because I actually thought it was 10 days, but I think that might have been mine. I think mine was 10 days, but mine was consistently 10 days. And so I think that's why they say like nobody has a perfect 28-day cycle, and that there's always going to be, like variations and stuff. But yeah. So, but either way, either outside, like 6 days tends to be like a short one.
It's super short.
So
super
when
short.
did those ones start popping up? Was that like your third and fourth cycle, or was that after?
So that final, the first time I saw a clear shift, like a clear ovulation, I also saw a short luteal phase. So that was like the fourth cycle.
Fourth cycle. Okay, yeah. So like it literally took you 4 months to finally probably even ovulate after getting your first.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple periods before I started to track, but they were probably the same. Who knows? But they were probably the same. And at that point, so at the 5th, 6th cycle, Jake and I had started trying, and we weren't trying crazy hard. Like, when people are trying super hard, they have sex like every day, every 2 days. We just had sex like one time, like you did, inside of each ovulation window, like 1, maybe 2 times, and nothing happened. And so I wasn't like, oh, what's wrong with me? Because it's like, you had sex one time, like, chill out. But at the same time, I was like, but I know that if everything is aligned how it should, this should work. This is how this works. Like, kind of is. And so I was like, I think I need to get these short luteal phases situated out. This needs to be corrected. And so I really assessed my lifestyle at the time. Like, what am I doing now that's contributing to this, like, this short luteal phase? It's kind of like HA recovery. It's very similar. It's like, what are you doing that's stressing your body out and not allowing the uterine lining to build up and hold and progesterone to stay high enough in order for implantation to happen? Why does your body not want that to happen? And I just kind of realized, I was like, I'm literally not eating breakfast till like 10. And sometimes I go for like a mile or 2 walk before, and I drink a fair bit of coffee. Like, there were these things. I was like, what would happen if I was super diligent about that? So I started having breakfast around 7 a.m., making sure I didn't miss that, making sure I ate before I did any kind of exercise, just being aware. I was already not exercising that much, but just like keeping on top of that. And I think those were really the main changes, and just like being more mindful of my caffeine consumption and just like how good nutritious my meals were. And that cycle got pregnant. And that's why I also just really think it should work if everything's operating. Right.
Which is so interesting because you're right. I think after going through HA, like, you're able to be like you skip that phase of, I know plenty of women who don't eat breakfast till 10. Why do I have to eat breakfast at 7? Or, like we're just able to be super honest with ourselves. Like, okay, I probably, like, even though it's just a walk, I should probably eat before my walk, because clearly my body is giving me signs that it's not as happy as it could be.
Yep, basically.
You know what I mean? But,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think sometimes, like, whenever we don't go through the process of really working through the mental, the emotional, having the time to have a couple of cycles and stuff like that, that it's easy to say maybe it's something else. Maybe like there's something wrong with my body, rather than like there's a tweak I need to make in my habits.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? To where
That's all it was a tweak in my habits. It's like, it's not me. I'm not broken. I'm not having this like breakdown about how this isn't working for me and it works for everyone else.
Yeah.
I just ate breakfast earlier.
Right. And so think about like just like small tweaks like that really do, you know what I mean? Not saying that everyone eating breakfast, that's going to solve your fertility problems, but like before we assume our body is broken, like are we doing everything that we can?
Yes, totally.
Before we assume that like it's just not working type of thing.
Because I don't want to discount. Of course, there are people who are doing that stuff and struggling. Like, people are just they're actually dealing with chronic stress. They're actually dealing with mold in their house they don't even know about. Like, there's all kinds of reasons. And yeah, me saying everyone should go have breakfast to get pregnant is like not the title of this podcast. No, sir. However, a lot of people trying to get their period back and stuff, like, there actually are a lot of you listening where that is actually a key player.
Well, yeah,
you are still skipping breakfast.
Well, because think about it. I mean, really, it's like the deficit from sleeping. It's then like the deficit of even just walking. And so it's just like the energy that's available, not like, you know what I mean? So just going through these pockets of like
the micro deficits.
Yeah. You know what I mean? To some people that does impact. So, I mean, I think that's just really cool that you're just able to be like, okay, but what am I actually doing, and like where can I even level up?
Yeah.
You know,
like
habits. Like where can I level up my habits before I go down this like spiral of I can't get pregnant type of thing.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's all you can ask anyone to do before then going to rely on fertility treatments and getting, you know, tons of specialists. Like, prior to that, there's a lot of little things that you can check off. Caffeine consumption. Are you fasting? Are you working out like a bit more than you probably should be right now? Like, there's just these little tiny things you can do that can make a huge difference for the masses, and you're not going to regret having ruled those things out.
Totally. And even for you, I remember you saying that like you just actually weren't hungry in the morning, so it wasn't that you were like, I'm purposely restricting or I'm purposely skipping lunch or having a late breakfast. It was more of like, I'm actually really not hungry. But then like,
I just eat massive dinners.
Yeah.
I just eat huge dinners. And so in the morning, I'm just like, So I kind of did have to like eat breakfast when I didn't want it.
Right. So just even like learning to trust your body that that's actually what it needed, even if you didn't feel like you needed food. You know what I mean?
Totally. And now that I'm pregnant, I need food immediately. And it's like so interesting. I'm like, is this just my life on everything amplified? Like, I don't know. Someone just turn the stereo up on me, because like everything about pregnancy is me just amplified, except no coffee. That's weird. I just like, I don't want any coffee. That one just must have canceled itself out. But like the foods I love, I just am thinking about nonstop. Like, there's nothing super crazy. It's just this like super heightened desire for these things and wanting to eat earlier and more frequently. So a part of me is just like,
Look at that. Yeah, no, I actually stopped wanting coffee too. I was just like, well, like my nauseous like was so bad. But I was just like, yeah, I actually just don't even want that, which was strange. I was like, I don't know what that's about.
Who am I?
Yeah, who am I? Okay, so how did you tell Jake?
Oh, we have this white German Shepherd Husky. Her name is Jasmine. And most nights we, as a family, we have dessert. And so Jake and I have our like bowl of yogurt or ice cream or whatever, and she comes into the kitchen with us and she brings her Kong. I think most people know what a Kong is. It's like this rubbery treat that this rubbery toy you can insert treats in. We always fill it with peanut butter for her, and she just loves it. Like every night she brings it in, carries it in, hands it to us. It's so cute. And I decided I wanted her to tell him, so I wrote it in a note and put it in her Kong so that when she carried it to him to ask for her dessert, he would have to take the note out. So there he was like, oh, gets her Kong. He's like, getting the peanut butter. He's like getting the knife out, scooping it in. It's taking forever. And he finally gets it. And in the video, it looks like he immediately knows what this is. But it turns out he has no idea what's happening. He thinks I'm filming something for Instagram, like I'm just making some reel. He's all annoyed at me because I'm filming it. But it was a good like way it's just, there's Dani filming shit again. So it's fine. But yeah, then he read the note and he was like, ew? He was like so confused. He was so confused. But yeah, and then that was it.
Well,
but I tested positive 6 days.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Okay, so when did you start? Okay, so just talk about that. So clearly, like you're like, this is my ovulation window. You had you had sex during your little window, and then when were you like, I think I'm curious, or I'm gonna start testing, or walk me through that whole thing?
Because it was the first time that so when you're trying to time sex for ovulation, you're kind of flying a little bit half blind. You don't know when you're going to ovulate. You can just tell that it's coming based on the signs of like cervical mucus. So we happened to time it, and then the next day I had a temperature spike, and I was like, we had sex like the day I was ovulating. Like I could have ovulated like 1 hour later. Like, you know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. And so I was just like, oh, like cool. So it was like the most fertile opportunity that we'd had sex in that, like,
perfectly placed.
Yeah. In that like 4 months of trying sort of thing. So that was like my first thing. And then I almost feel like that was all it was. I'm pretty sure, because every cycle my boobs hurt super bad and they grow really big. I'm like pregnant every month. I'm just like, this is insane. So really, I think I just was super keen. And I just took a test. I just took a test of 6 days like a psycho. But I was like, that is a line. And then I took 2 more and I was like, what the hell? I put one in water just to see what one in water looked like, just in case they were like really faulty.
Good. I mean, I would have never thought about that. That's you're like,
yeah, I'm just like are they faulty?
Positive. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And then that day I got into the doctor. So I'm like, oh yeah, I think at day 7 I got into the doctor and I was like, it's day 7. I'm at the doctor. I'm like, give me blood tests. That day I have blood tests and I go back 2 days later. So the blood tests 2 days apart, and they check your HCG levels, which is a hormone that only starts to produce and rise when you're pregnant. And if you can see over like 72 hours that it's risen significantly, like over doubled or whatever, you're pregnant. There's like no other disease that causes that. So that's what I did. And she just emailed me and she was like, they're all rising as they should be. Start taking a prenatal. And I was just like, oh. So by 9 DPO, it was like confirmed, which is so early. Most people aren't even allowed to take their first test until like, I don't know, 11 days DPO.
I only took mine like the day after like I missed my like period.
Yeah, well, because you're a different situation. Yeah. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I was not. Yes. Anyways. But yeah, talk about knowing early. Did that scare you to know early?
No, I was like, fuck yeah. I had my first ultrasound on Monday, and like, just tell me if it's twins. Like, is it twins? Like,
Or wanting
I'm all looking up like, for what reason does one test positive so early? It's like the only reason I can find.
All right.
I don't
Well, we
know.
will be holding out for you. Holding
Mm.
out. So then, what does this make your due date? It would be.
Right now it's July 31st, but apparently that changes a whole bunch
I think babies.
as they're measuring it, I guess.
Yeah, I think babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just quickly talk about the little community within the HA Society of pregnant people, which you didn't really quite expect.
No.
You know.
We were like a month in.
Yeah.
And we had to start. So inside of the society, we have little statuses.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be, I have HA, I'm recovered, or I'm like waiting on my second, third. I'm in limbo. And there's like 3 statuses, or I'm a practitioner, and all of those people can apply that to their account. And in like within a few weeks, we had Erica pregnant, Nikki pregnant, Hillary pregnant. You were pregnant day 1. You're popping.
Yeah.
You could pop tomorrow, like it could happen. Yeah. So it was just like, well, I guess we need a group. I don't know. Like, why are you all pregnant? This is a group of HA people.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
But so just for everyone listening, we actually had our first community call, and it was almost like I found my own like mom group of people who've been through HA, whether it got pregnant like Dani, like took time, surprise pregnancy like me, or people that were like, yo, we are gunning for it, like the first month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I would just have to say, I'm not one to seek out a mom's group or anything like that, but it was just so nice to like be on a call with a group of women that were like gone through similar journey, same thing, obviously different variations, but it's just like, you just kind of know that, oh my gosh, so everyone just kind of has this huge appreciation for the body and what it's doing, even though, and then now just going through this whole stage of, did you know that your body is doing this? Did you notice this? You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like this subgroup that like wind up coming to be, and it's just so nice. I don't know.
I totally agree. A part of me was like, I wonder if I would enjoy mom groups with people who just like didn't go through this.
I
don't know.
Same thing. I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, like they know the full journey. Like they know like the struggle of just even getting to like have your period, let alone get pregnant and then just walk through pregnancy together. So I think that's like pretty cool. So if you are someone who's had HA and you are a mom and you're looking for a awesome group of women who are also pregnant going through the same thing, this could potentially be a place for you as well.
Totally. And if that's just your long-term plan, come join us in the society.
Yeah.
And then once you get pregnant, we'll just pop you in the group.
Yeah. Just think that like that's not like, you don't like your story or your journey with us doesn't end like once you get your period. I mean, it can if it wants, but but if you get pregnant, like we're also there too.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Monday is your first ultrasound, right? Okay.
So it will just look like a dot.
Well, we're excited to see that dot then.
Yeah. There's like, how many dots?
Like, yeah. They're like, this is your uterus. I'm like, where? I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a sea of like,
I know.
Black and
Yeah.
white.
It's just black hole. I know. I am just looking forward to it because it feels like the first like milestone that you do.
Absolutely.
Woo. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Ashley.
Loved it.
Cool. Guys, go find Ashley at Ashley_Marie_Smith_ on Instagram.
And you'll know where to find me. Dani Scherer for the HA podcast. If you have questions about getting pregnant after having HA,
or just
come chat.
Congrats to her.
Yes, all that. All right, guys. We'll see you guys later.
All right, bye.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women.
Almost 90% of women have cellulite. And guess what? It's not their fault. We don't choose cellulite, but we can choose a different way to treat it. Meet Quo, collagenase Clostridium histolyticum, AAES, the first and only FDA-approved prescription injectable for moderate to severe cellulite in the buttocks of adult women. This non-surgical treatment is injected by an aesthetic specialist in 10 minutes or less. Individual results may vary. Do not receive if you are allergic to any collagenase or ingredients in Quo, or have an infection at the treatment site. May cause serious side effects, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and injection site bruising. Seek medical help right away for any signs of allergic hypersensitivity. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions if you have a bleeding condition or take medicine that prevents clotting. Most common side effects include bruising, pain, hardness, itching, redness, discoloration, swelling, and warmth at the injection site. Ask your doctor about all possible side effects and for product information. If you're ready to get to the bottom of your cellulite, learn more and find a specialist at quo.com.